Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we're going to be using an older die set here from a Die Cutting Essentials magazine. I'm not sure which one this came from, but I think it's called Just a Note. I think it is. So you've got this really lovely big typewriter. You've got a little piece of paper that makes it look like it's coming out, and then you've got some florals on there as well. I've also taken some papers from this paper pad here. I'm making a masculine themed card here, and sometimes it's nice to try and see if you can use your products that maybe could be sort of traditionally for female cards or more feminine cards, to kind of use them and in a different way. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm making a card for my granddad, and I thought this typewriter was great. I definitely wanted to use this again. I did have a little look through my stash, and I want to start finding some products that I haven't used for a long time and seeing what we can create with it. So I've just taken this patterned paper here. It's quite busy, but I've die cut that with the typewriter, and we're going to add a piece behind this, so then you can see the buttons and things. You can leave this open if you want, but I'm going to add this really, I think this is the Barely Grey cardstock from Creative Expressions, and it's just going to fill that in really nicely. It's not the busiest card in the world. It's going to be quite simple, but sometimes they can be the best. And I have already sent this off to my granddad, so unfortunately I'd forgotten to take a photo. This happened a few times recently. I forgot to take a photo of it, so the thumbnail photo doesn't look sort of as good because I had to take a screenshot from this video, but I definitely need to remember to take pictures of my cards. So I just trimmed down that little piece of paper just to pop behind this, and I'm just adding glue in between all of the little buttons there and all of the different elements. The one place I'm not putting this piece is along that top slot. That is then where you can slot in your paper. I have done another video using this die set back when it came out, and I will try to link that at the end of this video if you want to see that. Maybe you've got this die set. Like I said, it is slightly older now, but you know, just because maybe you can't get hold of the products anymore, you know, if you have still got it in your stash, we definitely want to make the most out of it. And sometimes I struggle with that a little bit. You know, I have die sets, especially with the magazines, you know, they're freebies. You get to a certain point where you probably can't get hold of them anymore, and it's like, should I use it, should I not? But you know, these are things in my stash. Of course, if you have other products that's going to work with this, you know, these kind of videos are there for inspiration. If you have got those items, then great. You know, you can recreate the cards. You can, hopefully it'll inspire you to use the products, but also look at the way that, I don't know, maybe a technique that we've used on a card, or maybe something like the template, you know, the card layout, things like that, you know, and apply that to products that you do have at home. So, you know, if you've got some patterned papers at home, this might be a good way, you know, a little source of inspiration to get a patterned paper out, and, you know, die cut something with a busier pattern, and, you know, have patterned paper for the background and things. It's just there to use it as a way of inspiring you. You know, you might think, oh, I've got this product and that would work really well as an alternative to something like this typewriter. So what I've done there is just created a little piece of paper. So again, using the die that came in the set, and I just die cut that from some white cardstock, and I used some antique linen distress ink just to add a little bit of a colour to that edge. And I'm taking this Altenew Heartfelt Sentiments. This has got quite a few different sentiments in here. You got thinking of you, sort of sympathies, sending hugs, things like that. And that's the kind of card that I wanted to create for my granddad. So I'm going to be putting thinking of you on this, and because this sentiment is in a straight line, I wanted to have it kind of coming down the page a little bit. So we're going to do a little bit of masking. This isn't perfect, not always necessarily going to get it perfect. It depends how well it sort of inks up and things like that. I definitely had a little bit of the sort of thinking, because for whatever reason I didn't decide to clean that portion off before masking for the word of, so I had to kind of do that after I'd inked it up. I could have just wiped the whole thing clean, but I did just take my stamp chamois and just cleaned off the word thinking. So when you do come to masking, you can see I'm using just a little bit of washi tape there. You just want to mask off the section that you don't want to be stamped, ink that portion up, make sure you remove that little bit of washi tape, whatever it is that you're using, and then stamp it. So you can see my of didn't stamp particularly well, but I did learn the second time then to make sure that I cleaned it off sort of fully. And this is how then you can take stamps that you've already got, maybe it is sentiments, and have them in a different orientation. You know, like I said here, this is a sentiment that's in one line, but you don't have to keep it that way. Also, don't be afraid to do a little bit of stamp surgery. You know, you can cut your stamps up. Just because you've bought it in a certain way, it's been designed a certain way, doesn't mean that you have to keep it that way if that's not how you think you're going to use it. So now I've got that on, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the back of this typewriter, and then I can slot this piece of paper in. And I think a die like this is fantastic because you can just have it in your stash. You're going to be able to use it for feminine and masculine cards as well. The first time I used it was definitely a more feminine card. We had all of the flowers and things like that. But this, again, just by changing the papers and the colours, you can turn it into a masculine design. I've had this paper pad a little while now. I'm really trying to get through some of my paper pads and kind of use them up to stop hoarding them. I don't have tons of paper pads, but yeah, we don't need them kind of hanging around because we always, you know, there's always new products that we do want to buy. So I wondered if this was going to be a little bit busy with this particular background and then the busyness of that typewriter as well. So what I'm going to do is add a little strip of cardstock on here. You can, if you want to, bring in different shapes. I showed you in a recent video some more of the Creative Craft products, their nesting dies that I picked up. And I said in that video that products like that are really great for adding just simple shapes to things. You don't even necessarily, you know, need to use them as mats and layers. You can use them just as a small layer, just to add a little bit of difference between, you know, your topper, your main focal point, and then your background, especially in a circumstance like this where I am using two quite busy patterns. So I've taken a piece of cinnamon cardstock from the foundation card range from Creative Expressions. So I'm creating a 5x7 card. The pattern paper in the background, I cut that to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and then this piece of cinnamon here, I believe it was about 2.5 inches that I trimmed this down to. So we had, you know, a nice wide panel here, and then again it is 6 3/4 high, and that's just going to fit on there nicely. What you could do if you don't want to waste that patterned paper is you could cut this down so you've got that small little piece on the left hand side, that slightly thicker piece on the right, and you could just add those two pieces in the background, again, if you don't want to waste too much patterned paper. So I've just glued that down. Again, we're not going for kind of tons of dimension on here either. I am going to add some foam tape to the back of this piece, but normally I do add in like another mat and layer. Maybe I could have added some foam to that strip, but I wanted to keep it more kind of on the simple side because, again, this is like a thinking of you card. I didn't want it to be kind of too busy, really. We're keeping it sort of fairly simple. So again, like I was saying, if you don't have this die but you want to be kind of inspired, you know, any YouTube video that you watch, any videos to do with card making, if it's not the product that you're necessarily looking at because you don't have it, or it's not something necessarily that you're interested in potentially, you know, if it was like floral cards or you don't make floral cards, still look at the design of the card, so the layout of the card. You know, you can see here we've got patterned paper with that strip, and then we have that element in the middle. If that's something, let me know in the comment section down below if that's something that you might be interested in, maybe as a particular video possibly, that, you know, we can look at templates if you're interested in templates, and, you know, using that same template with lots of different products so you can kind of see how that works. Let me know and we can create some videos doing that. Yeah, that would be a really good little card series that we could work on. So what I'm going to do now is I did think it was a little bit plain. I was debating what I kind of wanted to add to this, but I decided to take some of the floral pieces that came in this die set. So you get these really lovely, almost like little wildflower pieces that you can have coming out of the typewriter. That was definitely what we did in the first video that we used this typewriter die. And I decided to add that into this card, but again, still trying to do it in a masculine way. So I used that Bearly grey cardstock again, and just die cut the leaves. So none of the flowers, but just some of that foliage there. And we're going to have that coming out from behind the typewriter, but then also in front of that paper. And we're just going to kind of work these in together. Because these pieces are quite thin, I'm going to take some of my Nuvo glue that I've got in the Crafter's Companion fine tip glue bottle. I'm using my reverse tweezers just to hold on to those. A really good staple tool to have in your stash there. So if you're using smaller pieces, it's just easier to kind of hold on to. You're not getting your fingers in anything. Potentially you're still going to drop things like I do, but they're a really good tool to have in your stash. And again then, so we're just adding small amounts of glue onto the back of that, and then just having those pieces again. So we've got these pieces coming out from behind. And then I am going to just die cut a few more, and we're going to have those coming out in front of that paper. So you can see just adding those in there. I've cut some of these down again so they're a little bit smaller, and the fact that they're nice and thin, you can sort of manipulate them a little better. So hopefully this is another way to show you how you can take different die sets and make them feminine and masculine as well. It's nice when you have that versatility in a die set. So to finish this off, I'm just going to add some Nuvo drops to this. I'm pretty sure it's the pumice stone that I used. I went for more of that grey rather than the chocolate chip to match in with those browns. I wanted it to stand out a little bit. And those are from the Vintage Drops range. So they finish with a lovely matte finish rather than being glossy. And then that's going to be this card finished. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up to help support my channel and help it to continue to grow. If you haven't subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I do hope that these videos are helpful to you. Again, I know this is an older set that you might not be able to get hold of, but again, please just take any sort of techniques, any layouts with you and kind of apply that to the products that you have got. Again, we're not always going to be using the same products, but hopefully you guys do get something from my videos. So that is going to be it for today's video. So thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.